Gentlemen's brothers, welcome back to the shop. The witch of November comes stealing. Look at the hands on me. What? It's colder than a whore's heart. I got the nailing gun. What for framing nails? Now, I had that Milwaukee staple gun. Changed my life. What for doing fencing. This, figured new project, new tool. I got to build some farrowing crates for the piggies. Rita and Janet, large black heritage breed. They're beautiful sows. As beautiful a sow as you can. I wanted to name them Oprah and Lizzo. My wife, baby doll, she wouldn't let me. And it occurred to me, baby, sugar, honey, darling, are you insinuating because they're large black breed of pig, these sows we cannot name Lizzo and Oprah? It would be inappropriate. And yet, she named the boar the notorious PIG, Piggy Smalls. Apparently she can get away with it because she's cute. It's Verks. Kind of sounds like a hairdryer though. This is obviously a completely different arrangement. Jeezless. Heavy too. Totally different arrangement than the Milwaukee. We'll get to the innards and see, but first I gotta break the seal, boys. Look at this. The encapsulation continues. They're printing on pulp newsprint. Pretty soon you won't even get one of these. You'll have to download the app. Don't give them any ideas. Burns good. Nobody fucking panic. I should take the bullets out of it. Declaw the beast before we set the gut in her. There's only one way out. Through the business end. Maybe there's, oh yeah, okay. There's a pokey bit in here. You gotta lift up. There we go. Little latch here. As you know, shocking and repellent as it is, winter is coming, but I got one up on the Witch of November this year. I got the yard hydrants, that is frost-free hydrants, and the line all put in before the first frost even. Got up the morning last, everything frozen cock stiff. Went to turn on the water the pigs, and there it was. Flowing, not frozen at all. Small victories, small victories. Speaking of, the kids found some kittens in the hayloft. Now we got an old barn cat, and once from the streets, always from the streets. Strange time of the year to be giving birth to kittens, but there you have it. She got kittens, and slowly but surely they made their way into the house. Now the problem with kittens, they turn into cats. I had the old burlap sack routine all ready for them, and the kids, well, the boy especially, I was surprised at this. The boy was really, really enamored with this one little kitty Boots. So not being a holy terror of a monster, we let the kids keep two of them. Here's the interesting part. If there is an interesting part to drowning in pussy. I never was once of a feline fella. Them not being particularly manly in my opinion, and being a vain and petty man, I never took to cats. Also, deathly allergic. I could sniff out a cat dander from 100 yards away and get all stuffed out, itchy-eyed, just be miserable. Cats and me did not mix. Ta-da! It looks like a bit of Delarin in the back there. Some sort of rigid, stiff plastique in order to maintain its shape. It doesn't look very... What is this for? Just to clear it, maybe? Probably should have read the instructions. Too late now. And these kittens, they're damn cute. We called a bunch of roosters named Fajita. Delicious. I saved the hearts, lungs, kidneys, livers for these kittens, feeding them. And they grew up strong and they grew up mean. Put them on the Kijiji because you can sell. The Kijiji is... It was a Microsoft thing, but it's like Craigslist Microsoft. They still use it at Canada. You know, us being enamored with Gil Bates and so forth. We put them on there, 1 for $5 or 2 for free. So we managed to give away a bunch of them. It's tough actually to find a barn cat when you want one because the SPCA gets involved and then you can't, yeah, you know what the bleeding heart, gonna save the world one kitty cat at a time types are like. So we give some of these away and we keep 2, 1 for the boy and another for the girl. And they get raised up in the house, much to my chagrin, on account of being deathly allergic. But I'm not allergic anymore. We even let the mum cat in. We pet the mum cat. She visits her, you know, she doesn't give a shit about them being from the streets. But she does rather enjoy a belly full of food. So here's the fuck of it. How is it possible I've been allergic to cats my entire life? Nigh on 120 years. And it's getting to the end. And I'm not allergic anymore. No longer allergic. You tell me. You denizens of the internet are the health experts, resident. The only other thing I haven't been doing is fast food. Not eating any fast food. I haven't eaten fast food in over half a decade now. Mainly, well, the only reason, not because it's not delicious, is because it's not food. And they're evil. They are evil. So I choose not to spend my money at places that are evil. Yeah, that's just a personal preference of mine, not to do evil in the world. I know. So the only other change has been more red meat, more butter, more eggs, more bacon, more meaty deliciousness, a little less grain. Still love baby dolls, home-baked sourdough loaves. Gorgeous. I still love lazy daisy cake. All of those carbs are still delicious to me, but I just a hair lower than 10. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm not allergic. Oh, story of your life, buddy. Missed a screw. Injection molded body of the tool says that it's polycarbonate, not nylon. There doesn't appear to be any glass fiber reinforcing. Certainly can't hear any when you cut into the material. That glass fiber real hard on the mold, so maybe they got rid of it on you. They did polycarbonate in order to stiffen it up. Not what I would call a clean design. Lots of spring and sproing in things, and also I dislike this bad juju. You embed a security tag within the tool that is there for the life of the tool. Quite gauche in my opinion. Put it in the box so you can throw it out. Doesn't need to be in the tool. I walk out of Walmart with the thing beeping with my kids in tow. Like nobody cares. There's people shooting fentanyl into their eyeballs across from the elementary school. Some robot beeping at me, partner, I ain't stopping. And further to that, I'm a self-made man with only a couple parts missing. Quite handsome, my mother tells me. And I know how to dress. So there's nobody working the welcome booth at Walmart what's gonna run after me for a beeping. Those things are to keep the honest people out. Holy Jesus, would you look at that? It makes me feel like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. There is a lot going on there, partner. There's gotta be, in my guesstimation, over 100 parts on the bill of materials just for this striking mechanism alone. It appears to be. I'm not sure. I probably should have done a little research before I bought this. Laid out the 500 Kazakhstan Kopecks. Because had I seen what was involved in this, I would have maybe gone with a different style. That's not to say, you know, I don't bleed any color tool company. I'm completely tool company agnostic because I think they're all scumbags. This is not to my liking. Maybe it's to yours. Maybe you like super complicated stuff with the little itty bitty fiddly bits everywheres. I've never seen this before in a tool. These Wago connectors, but they're permanent connectors. Yeah, never seen that before. What do you fellas think about that? Let's put a battery in there. It doesn't seem that there's going to be anything flying out of here because the casement, it's not super, it doesn't have a whole bunch of rigidifying elements, which leads me to believe that the casement isn't structurally required to keep this all together. Let's put the battery in. See how she do. Oh, that's a big old flywheel is what that is. And that's an outrunner. Like on a drone. That's an outrunner motor. So, instead of a pressure vessel, what we have is a flywheel. Quite a heavy one. Ha-ha. Okay. Now we get an inkling of how it works. It's really quite novel, quite cute. So the outrunner motor has a big flywheel. Flywheel is grooved. That engages the grooves on the hammer. It's spinning the thing in this way. If the hammer moves down and engages in those V grooves, it's gonna fling forward. So what's the flinging mechanism? Well, here's the flinging mechanism. Looks like some sort of solenoid drives this piston forward, which is what this guy also does. And that pushes a cam, if you look here, look at this guy, pushes a cam down against the hammer so that these V element slides can engage with the flywheel. Whammo! And then the protection to make sure you're up against something so it doesn't just shoot out nails like a GUN is a tiny little micro switch. However, they've mitigated the fact that there's a 200-pound gorilla smashing on this thing because they've put a stiffer spring on the actuator than they have on the switch. So you can never come hard up against the switch stop. I'm very vigilant about the creeping further encapsulation of tools and equipment and so forth. So having an eye to that, the amount of parts on this bill of materials, I would far rather buy a simpler one. I know I wouldn't have bought this one had I had a side by each comparison of the innards. However, I got this one now. I'm not confident I'll be able to take it apart, put it back together, and still have it chooch. I got some projects. So I'm gonna break the rules. I'm breaking the rules, man. I'm gonna do my project and see how it stands up, and then open it back up. Now I see the mechanism. It makes sense to me. You need to put in a lot of power in a very short amount of time. You need an impulse. And in order to do that, the Milwaukee, it's got a pressure vessel and a nitrogen canister. Now that, over time, that gas leaks out. So I'm not impressed with the Milwaukee on account of there's no user serviceable parts inside. You know, you can't even buy a trigger switch for the thing. This looks like you can get all the parts for. So long term, this might be a better deal. We don't know until we know. I'm gonna get her back together, jam a couple nails in some hardwood. I got 1-inch oak and a 2-inch alder. Offcuts from the slicing plant. The alder, they make it super wet, so you gotta season it for quite a while. And that's why it's got the black mold on there. And you're gonna need a battery. You can hear the motor spooling up after it hits. Now there's another setting on here. Oh, which is multiple nails, so you don't got to pull the trigger every time. You can just do one of these. Tut, tut, tut. Let's try, shall we? And now we got her on max depth, single shot. Well, the proof in the pudding's in the eating of the currants. Plenty of rum in them. You'll be first to know, well, second to know if it craps out on me. That flywheel mechanism seems to have plenty of power. Certainly keeps up with home gamer. Jesus. Thanks for watching. Keep your dick in a vice. But wait, there's more. Physics lesson inbound. I've been dicking around with this now, and it feels heavier than it oughta. Like my wrists are weak, or maybe I went a little hot and heavy last night. Nay, I realized it's because of the flywheel. You have this mass spin-a-thinging. The angle of the dangle is directly proportional to the mass of the ass times the heat of the meat. In this case, if you're running this to and fro, you're fine. But as soon as you want to change the angle, you have to overcome the angular momentum of that big fat flywheel. And it's actually heavier than, you have to put more force into moving this thing, twisting it around, than you would with any other model of driver because of this flywheel. The flywheel is fighting your every twisting movement. Okay, I'm hanging her off the forklift there. Watch this. So anytime that you're going to be twisting or trying to rotate it around, you're going to be fighting the flywheel. That's quite nice, that. I rather enjoy a sit by the fire.